Let's dive right into today's explainer, where we are unpacking a seriously chilling piece of folklore. We're talking about a story that takes our deepest, wildest desires and literally turns them into our absolute worst nightmares. We're going to analyze the dark legend of the Don Piशाccini, which translates to the wealth ghost or wealth demoness, and really look at what this narrative tells us about the deadly, deadly consequences of uncontrollable greed. So if you've ever daydreamed about what you do if you just stumbled upon infinite riches, well, this analysis might actually make you think twice. To truly get a handle on this entity, we've got to start with the lure itself. Picture this. You wake up in the dead of night. Your throat's a little dry, so you get up for a glass of water. Suddenly, you hear it. That sharp, unmistakable clink of a gold coin hitting the floor. You followed this shimmering trail out of your house, and boom, your courtyard is absolutely filled with giant, ancient pots overflowing with endless, glowing gold. This is the exact situation a woman named Suda finds herself in at the start of our source material. Naturally, she thinks her whole destiny just changed. She literally believes she's going to be the queen of the village. But right as she reaches out to grab handfuls of this treasure, the gold morphs into swarming bugs, and she hears this terrifying sound of anklets creeping up from behind. It's a captivating but honestly horrifying scenario, and it begs the big question we're exploring today. What is the true price of endless wealth? Like, what would you actually be willing to sacrifice if that limitless fortune came with a deadly, irreversible price tag? Section 1. The Mansion's Curse. A Deadly Trap. So, let's go back to Sudha. After finding that gold, she starts having these agonizing, recurring nightmares about a woman completely draped in gold jewelry. Her husband, Mahesh, decides he's had enough and brings in a tantric, a mystic practitioner, to cleanse the house. The tantric reveals there's vast, ancient wealth buried right under their courtyard, but it's guarded by a powerful entity. Now, completely blinded by the sudden prospect of getting rich, the husband ignores the red flags and demands the gold anyway. The tantric summons the entity, the Don Piशाccini herself. She shows up covered head to toe in gold ornaments and immediately lays down the terrifying stakes. The gold is hers, and taking it, yeah, that requires a blood sacrifice. And man, this just shows how incredibly fast greed can override basic survival instincts. This whole encounter spirals out of control instantly. Mahesh actually sacrifices a goat, hoping that'll appease the demoness, but nope, she rejects the animal's blood. Her thirst is way darker. She demands human blood. When the family obviously can't provide that, the entity slaughters Sudha, her husband, and the tantric in this massive, horrific massacre. The tragedy is so profound that the terrified villagers end up permanently sealing the cursed mansion shut. They just lock that haunted wealth away in the dark. Section 2. 20 years later, the curse waits. 2 whole decades pass in just absolute fear. An entire generation grows up completely terrified of this sealed mansion. You've got village elders constantly whispering chilling rumors about the hidden gold, warning everyone to stay far, far away. But, poverty is a remarkably powerful motivator. Enter a young man named Raju. He's relentlessly mocked and taunted by his own father for not earning enough money. Driven by sheer desperation, exhaustion, and those constant whispers of infinite wealth, Raju decides to totally ignore the elders' warnings. In the dead of night, he grabs a heavy stone, smashes the lock, and breaks right into the cursed ruins. Section 3. Raju's Mistake. A Fatal Error. The second Raju steps inside, those dark ruins magically transform. Everything is glowing with immense treasure. The Piशाccini appears, but instead of just killing him on the spot, she offers him a deceptive, deeply psychological bargain with 2 absolute rules. Rule number 1, he can take literally as much wealth as he desires, but rule number 2, he must not let a single coin fall to the ground. If he drops even one, he dies. It is such a brilliant narrative device. It's basically the perfect trap for human greed, giving the victim just enough rope to hang themselves. At first, Raju is smart about it. He acts out of fear and caution, taking just a few coins, just enough to impress his folks, and he survives. But that restraint? It crumbles fast. His mother actually asks him, "Hey, why don't you just bring it all at once?" So he goes back and tries to grab massive armfuls of gold. 'Cause, why make 2 trips when you can risk your soul in one, right? His hands get too full, he loses his grip, and a single coin hits the ground. Instantly, the whole illusion shatters. The mansion reverts back to dark ruins, and Raju has to literally sprint for his life. But here's the thing, you absolutely cannot outrun a curse. The narrative clearly uses the Pistaccini not just as some random monster, but as a literal, physical manifestation of greed itself. She exists solely to punish those who can't control their earthly desires. Later that night, while the whole village is fast asleep, she shows up at Raju's house, uses her dark magic to plunge the neighborhood into a super deep slumber, and violently drags Raju away as payment for breaking his promise. Section 4. The Web of Greed. The Curse Spreads. Guess how much it took to spread the curse? Exactly 1 stolen coin. Just 1. The morning after Raju is taken, a neighbor named Urmila visits his house while his parents are grieving. Amidst all that chaos, she spots a single gold coin that Raju dropped during his struggle. Figuring no one's going to notice, she pockets it. And that single coin is literally all it takes to invite the Pistaccini's wrath into a totally new home. This sequence of events is incredibly fascinating because it shows how the entity actively preys on the corruptible. The Pistaccini doesn't just show up and attack Urmila in her bed. No, she plays on Urmila's specific weakness. She creates this magical trail of glowing coins leading from Urmila's front door straight into the dark, creepy forest. Urmila isn't dragged out there by force. She's lured by her own willingness to follow stolen wealth. When she gets to the end of the trail, she finds pots of gold and is just rejoicing. But then, the Pistaccini appears right behind her, casually explaining that picking up that stolen coin from a grieving family's home was a direct VIP invitation to death, and Urmila meets her doom right there in the woods. Section 5. The Next Target. A Test of Character. This next part perfectly highlights the story's core moral framework by showing us 2 completely different characters interacting with the exact same curse. First, we have Ramlo. He's forced by his corrupt boss, the Seth, to go to the haunted mansion because Ramlal's son is severely ill and the Seth refuses to pay him otherwise. When Ramlo meets the Pistaccini, he flat out tells her he has absolutely zero desire for the gold and is only there because he was forced. Sensing his innocence, she actually spares him. She just tells him to take the gold directly to the Seth and keep nothing for himself. Ramla follows the rules perfectly, driven entirely by fear and duty, and he survives. Then we have the Seth. This guy forces an innocent man into mortal danger, gleefully hoards the cursed gold the second he gets it, and is ultimately destroyed by his own inherent corruption. But the entity actually does a lot more than just kill the Seth for wanting gold. She acts almost like a cosmic judge. Right before she strikes him down in his own home, she reveals a really dark secret. She tells him she knows that years ago he murdered his own uncle to usurp his land and property. The Pistaccini isn't just some random killing machine. She specifically targets people whose souls are already deeply tainted by extreme greed and violent selfishness. The gold? It's really just the bait that brings their true nature bubbling to the surface. The story eventually wraps up with the terrified villagers bringing in a great, powerful tantric to finally save them from this spreading darkness. But as he arrives to analyze the curse, we are left to ponder this final, seriously chilling question that the source material leaves hanging. What is the true origin of this wealthy entity? Was she cursed by her own greed in a past life? And as this immense wealth continues to just sit there in the ruins, waiting in the dark, who's going to be tested next by the allure of endless gold? It's a pretty brilliant reminder that sometimes the things we want the absolute most are exactly what end up destroying us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next deep dive.